Hey folks, when it comes to automation, shell scripting is key. A little bash, a little ksh, a little tsh, maybe even some PowerShell. No, too much? Too much. Okay, sorry. But even with all this power, sometimes we need to navigate larger data sets, multiple data sets, perform complex calculations in all of them, and that's where shell scripting kind of falls a little flat. And that's why we have Python. Now, you will probably be handed a Python script somebody else wrote to make the magic happen, or you'll end up having to learn how to do it when you are tasked with making a Lambda function. Either way, all those beginner tutorials on Python don't really go into any details on how it actually winds up getting run in prod. So that's what we're going to cover here today. How to effectively use Python in a production environment. So number one, we're going to use the correct version. Now, Python comes in a lot of different versions, but there's two major flavors of them. Python 2 is what's on most systems for running the legacy apps that came with it. All the OS utilities are generally pinned to Python 2. Then there's Python 3, which is current and good, and the one you should be using as long as it's more than Python 3.6. So which one should you be using? Well, where's your script going? If the target system already has a version of Python that you can use that one because you don't have to deal with it. More than likely, the authors of the script have tested against those common versions that are included with CentOS, Ubuntu, etc. If the code you're using requires a specific version because of compatibility quirks, well, you're going to be using that. If you're starting fresh with no existing Python code, we'll use whatever version is compatible with the reference code you're borrowing. And if you're running this in a managed or serverless environment, use whatever the latest version the provider supports. This way you don't have to upgrade it anytime soon. Once you figured that out, time to install. On Debian, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to install some prerequisites, add the Dead Snakes package repo with add apt repository, update the package list, install the version of Python you need along with the venv add-on, and finally, ensure pip is properly installed. For Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, you're going to need to build that from source or try and find some other binary distribution package. I'll leave some links down below for you to do that. For Windows, the installers are on Python's website. You can download and install them as usual. On Mac, you can use brew to install pretty much every version you might need. On some OSs, the installer won't add Python to the path environment variable, which we're going to fix by setting up a virtual environment. That venv package we installed earlier is for setting up a virtual environment. A virtual environment is a semi-private installation of a Python version with a private set of package installations and customizations that doesn't interfere with the system-supplied Python installation. This is optional in prod if your environment in a single application container or server, but if you're piggybacking on a VM that already has working software, and this includes OS-installed applications that use Python, you should be running your app in a virtual environment. You should almost always develop in a virtual environment. The virtual environment, which is usually in a folder either called .venv or venv, consists of a few subfolders that contain links to Python executables, maybe some standard libraries, and your environment-specific libraries. Also, it contains a bunch of scripts to set up and use that virtual environment. Creating the virtual environment is done by running the Python version you want to use and having it load the venv module while giving it a parameter that tells it where to put the environment. In this example, we're putting it in the venv folder. Using the virtual environment amounts to calling the activation script in PowerShell or a DOS prompt, or sourcing it in a Unix shell script. Once done, your environment now defaults to using the Python version in the virtual environment folder. You can then proceed to install modules individually, load all modules from the requirements.txt file, and run your application out without breaking other things. Next, we're going to be configuring Git. You're using source control, right? Make sure you grab the standard Python gitignore template and keep the crud out of your repo. Now that you've got Git all sorted out, maybe you should use a real development environment. Sure, running unadorned nano in a terminal will do in a pinch, and it's super fun. It's not actually fun. No, what you want is the sleek speed and support of an integrated development environment. Yes, your IDE will make you more productive by helping you write better Python, faster. As I'm sure is no surprise for anyone here, I stan VS Code. And if you add Python, Pylance, and Code Spell Checker add-ons, you will feel truly blessed. As if PagerDuty had forgotten your phone number. You never have to work on legacy platforms ever again. You know why this is great? Because you can use a debugger. Set up the debugger. Set the breakpoints. Start your code. Inspect all the things. Delete all the extraneous print statements. Now that you have a 100% bug-free app, you can package everything up using pip. Simply run pip freeze and put the output into a requirements.txt file. Commit, push, write that pull request, and bathe in the soothing glow of your colleague lazily typing in LGTM as they approve not only of your code, but of you as well. Now the next sucker can use pip to install all your requirements and get a copy of your script ready to work its magic. So in conclusion, use the right copy of Python even if you need to install another copy to get it done. Slap down a virtual environment to develop with, and maybe use one prod if warranted. Make sure Git ignores all the detritus of the Python environment. Use an IDE and integrated debugger so you don't have to get all murdery while debugging. And make sure to package everything so the next person won't curse you with subtle IAM errors in the middle of the night. As always, I am Dan, dedicated cloud architect. If you have any ways to improve on what I've said here today, please feel free to write so in the comment. And if I, your humble servant, can do better, please let me know. Thank you, and goodbye, nerds.